I wish you could see my face. I wish you could hear my real voice. I wish I could show you the town where I grew up as a boy, the place where I first put my faith in Jesus Christ as a young teenager. But where I come from, to speak about these things publicly is to speak one's own death sentence. When men and women proclaim that Jesus is the Savior, neighborhoods can be burnt down. It only takes 2 witnesses to accuse you of blasphemy to be convicted and hanged. Fear is a powerful weapon, but it is not as powerful as the gospel. It was more than 10 years ago now that my life intersected with Partners. It will always be our personal decision to boldly proclaim the good news. But Partners was instrumental in showing us new ways to meet the needs of a community and how to let any conversation be a means for talking about our faith. After this training, I was filled with a renewed passion. I immediately began to coach other leaders with what I had acquired. One of these leaders ended up sharing the gospel with 200 people, and 7 of them that day put their faith in Jesus. One of the most important aspects of Partners is that they invest in leaders to raise up more leaders. And that's what I was doing. Partners prepares the church for multiplication. In Matthew 9, Jesus says that the harvest is plentiful. I have seen this to be true in my country. We don't have to worry about the harvest. It's already plentiful. Instead, what we have to do is prepare the workers. And so that's what I began to do. I began to multiply our workers until we were found out. We were being followed. For nearly 5 years, the government began to investigate my family. We were forced to flee the country. We traveled first to the UAE, hoping we might obtain citizenship there. Our visa soon expired. My passport eventually expired. My youngest child couldn't speak the language of the school she was in, setting her back 2 full years in her education. And then the pandemic began, and everything became even more difficult. Ultimately, we could not stay where we were. We were forced to relocate again to Europe, where we are living now. When people ask me if I'm afraid to share what I believe about Jesus, I tell them that there's no fear of dying. To die is to gain. But there is a fear of being separated from those you love, from your community, from your home, from your family and friends. It is very hard to be at a distance from our homeland. There is real pain with what we've lost. But we have not given up hope. Even from a great distance, we are still hearing the story of how Jesus is building his church. As we invest in leaders and raise disciples, we are seeing the multiplication continue in my homeland. There are now 223 leaders who have been trained. There are 125 new groups of believers, and there are 3,080 people who have been baptized. Many of those first-generation churches we launched have now launched second-generation churches, and some have already produced a third-generation church. We are seeing more and more workers who are ready for the harvest. God willing, one day I will be permitted to return to my country, and I will see with my own eyes the multiplying power of God's redemption in my homeland. I will see that the church is alive and growing. But even if I don't, we will continue. We will not give up.